And when we form a group, there's a new system. And there might be other groups, and there can be groups of groups. So where the one starts and the other ends is maybe a little bit murky, but there's some kind of communication going on between them. Some of that communication happens explicitly and some of it happens implicitly. And those mechanisms might be feedback loops. Some of them might happen on a macro scale, some of them might happen on a micro scale.
What I notice is also tempting when we speak so widely about systems is that it's tempting for the supervisor to potentially feel like they're responsible for the dynamics, and remembering that the supervisor works with the coach, and it's not trying to find a supervisor to try and coach the client, because that's probably indicative of an underlying issue of the system. So the focus here is that the supervisor works with the coach, and how the coach is showing up, being valuable to their client and their contract that they've been brought in to fulfill.
So it's not the coach pulling the supervisor into the system. It's the supervisor and the coach stepping out of the system, or working towards stepping out of the system, so they can both look at it.
Yeah, it's that helicopter view, or going up onto the balcony and looking down at what's happening. Yeah, that's really useful. So you're not being dragged into it, and if you are feeling like you're getting dragged into it, that's something to look at.
And maybe, contrary to what I've said, it might even be the supervisor being immersed in that system, kind of like a tuning fork, and then stepping out and saying, this is what I'm noticing when I was immersed in the system. And that invites both then back out to the helicopter view.
What I do for in my own practice is I almost have this imaginary chalkboard in my periphery, and as I'm present with my clients, noticing what are the common themes that I might hear, or the pieces of theory that prick in my ear. So coming from transactional analysis, there's obviously loads of models in that, and so often one that comes up quite regularly is questioning something around the drama triangle. So on this chalkboard, I might go, I wonder if there's something about drama triangle, but I'm not going to jump in too soon. And it's seeing like how many little lines do we get under each recurring topical theme, to see, is this actually a pattern, or was it a blip?
So,
and I use that to offer back. I use that then to offer to my supervision client. And this can work in many ways. Sometimes I will expressly offer something. Other times I will challenge, look for what's the question that I can ask instead, to see if there's something else that comes forth from them. So they're encouraging their thinking rather than me trying to plant a seed and trying to get it right. Because if I'm trying to get it right, then I'm stepping into a drama triangle myself. So that's my basic metaphor that I hold for myself. It's my little chalkboard. Notice the themes, and if I notice something, what do I do with it? Either asking questions or challenging the client, offering something, and taking it from there.
It's not just that chalkboard being a cognitive process and feeding that back cognitively and looking at it analytically. It's about helping the person notice what their subjective experience within that system is as a whole person. So their thinking, their physical feeling, their emotional feeling, their behavior, what values are at play, what are the principles, what are the ethics. So it's cognitive and it's non-cognitive. And then that's like being able to realize what frequency the tuning fork is vibrating at, and then making sense of that with regards to some kind of framework. One of the things done in supervision is that I think we've just discussed, and I saw you nodding, was to explore the subjective experience of the coach within that system. But we do more than just that, which I think distinguishes supervision as a separate modality. And that extra thing that we do is to tag that subjective experience onto a piece of theory. And how is that useful?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's to get that distance. So with the subjective experience, it's I feel it in my body. So there's a connection with my head, my heart, and my gut. There's a subjectivity to it, and it can be very, when a person experiences that, it can be very tempting to get lost in the noise of it. And by linking it to a piece of theory, it helps to get that, to pull yourself out of it and get that helicopter or that balcony perspective. So you're trying to disconnect or disentangle your own script beliefs, or the things that make things interactions complicated for yourself, and try to get some objectivity around it, to make sense of it. Within that process, a lot of things can happen. So you can start sorting out some of that script belief that might have been limiting in the past. And from that, there's a much greater chance of seeing options of how to then get back into the play and have a positive impact on how it plays out.
Yeah, I love what you've said. Because it's not what I was thinking, but it's so true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I guess I was over focused in my own mind on one particular aspect of the benefit, and but I think what you've said is one of the primary benefits. That distance. Other things that I think it does is it provides a model for the pattern that people can recognize, not only in those specific circumstances, but over time. And not only over time, but in different contexts. So there are many different dimensions that are different from the specific case brought, in which the person can use that tool of the model and apply it. They're smiling.
A metaphor popped in my mind. I'll share it
Yeah,
with you now.
what's it? my own experience has been these phenomena that I notice in my own life, like my personal stuff, like my style of problem solving and where I get hooked by people or circumstances, has many, it's like an onion, there are many layers to it. So I can unpack it and think, oh, okay, this is how I got triggered, and there'll be like a transformational aspect to that too, where I feel more in homeostasis, and I'm able to be more present and authentic to whatever the challenge was. But I will experience something different in nuanced ways, and I'll get triggered again. And the model performs such a useful function there in that it's inspecific enough that it's not only applicable to one set of circumstances, but it's structured enough that I can notice it manifesting in a wide variety of circumstances and over time. And I think that's important to coaches, because they hopefully are seeing a number of different people that they're helping, and each of those circumstances will be different, and the time will be different as well. So it enables them to have I think there are many disadvantages to this metaphor, but almost like a rescue boy kind of thing. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Oh shit, here I am getting stuck again. What might this be? And then from the ongoing supervision, there will be models that they can draw on to make sense of it. So it's like it's integrating supervision into oneself, not necessarily having to rely on another person to go to, which supervision certainly isn't.